The sanctity of sovereignty, ancient India's foundation. Ancient India was not a monolithic empire. It was a complex tapestry woven from numerous independent states. Each state, regardless of its size, fiercely guarded its sovereignty. This concept of self-rule was deeply ingrained in the Indian psyche. It was seen as integral to a ruler's legitimacy and the well-being of their people. This emphasis on sovereignty was not merely a matter of political pride. It was a fundamental principle enshrined in ancient Indian texts. These texts, such as the Arthashastra and the Mahabharata, recognized the inherent right of states to exist and govern themselves. They provided a framework for interstate relations based on mutual respect and a balance of power. The Arthashastra, a treatise on statecraft, stresses the importance of diplomacy and strategic alliances. It highlights the need for a ruler to be acutely aware of the power dynamics within their mandala or sphere of influence. Similarly, the Mahabharata, through its epic narrative, illustrates the consequences of unchecked ambition and the importance of righteous conduct in interstate relations. This deep-rooted respect for sovereignty formed the bedrock of ancient India's political landscape. It was within this context that the Mandal Theory emerged as a guiding principle for navigating the complex web of relationships between states. The Mandal Theory, a cosmic dance of power. Imagine a series of concentric circles, each representing a kingdom. At the center is the Vijigishu, the ambitious king seeking to expand his influence. Surrounding him are his allies and rivals, locked in a delicate dance of power. This, in essence, is the Mandal Theory, an ancient Indian concept that explains the geopolitical realities of the Indian subcontinent. More than just a theory, it was a dynamic system of shifting alliances and rivalries. The Mandal Theory, as described in ancient texts like the Arthashastra, recognized that power was not static. It was fluid, constantly ebbing and flowing between different kingdoms. At the heart of this system lay the concept of the Vijigishu, the aspiring conqueror. He was the central player, constantly striving to increase his power and territory. Surrounding him were various other kings, the Ari or enemy, the Madhyama or the neutral king, and the Udasina or the indifferent king. The Mandal Theory provided a framework for understanding the motivations and actions of these different players. It recognized that alliances were fluid and yesterday's enemy could become tomorrow's friend, depending on the prevailing political climate. From war to diplomacy, navigating interstate relations. The Vedic and post-Vedic periods of ancient India were marked by both conflict and cooperation. Warfare, often driven by territorial ambitions or control over resources, was a recurring theme. However, it was not the only mode of interaction between states. Diplomacy played an equally crucial role. Ancient Indian texts offer a nuanced understanding of statecraft, advocating for a pragmatic approach to interstate relations. The Arthashastra, for instance, outlines various strategies for maintaining peace and balance. Treaties were signed, marriages were arranged, and emissaries were exchanged. The concept of dharma yuddha, or righteous warfare, further regulated conflict, setting ethical boundaries on warfare. It emphasized that war should be a last resort, governed by rules and codes of conduct. This delicate balance between conflict and cooperation was central to the Mandala system. It recognized that while power was important, it was not the only factor determining a state's success. Alliances, built on trust and mutual benefit, were equally crucial for survival and prosperity. Section 4. Sacred Rituals and Territorial Might, Ashwamedha and Vajrayeya. Religion and politics were deeply intertwined in ancient India. Grand rituals, often involving elaborate ceremonies and sacrifices, played a significant role in establishing and consolidating power. The Ashwamedha yagna, or horse sacrifice, was one such ritual of paramount importance. It was a powerful symbol of a king's dominance and territorial sovereignty. The ritual involved the release of a consecrated horse, allowed to roam freely for a year. The horse was accompanied by a royal entourage and a contingent of warriors. Any kingdom that dared to capture the horse was essentially challenging the might of the king performing the sacrifice. The Vajrayeya, another significant ritual, involved a chariot race. It symbolized the king's prowess and his right to rule. These rituals, steeped in religious symbolism, served a practical purpose. They helped legitimize the king's authority, boost the morale of his subjects, and intimidate potential rivals. The successful completion of these rituals, often followed by grand feasts and the distribution of gifts, served to cement the king's position within his mandala. They were a potent reminder of the king's power and prestige, contributing to the overall stability of the political landscape. Section 5. The Mandala's players Vijigishu, Ari, Madhyama and Udasina. The Mandala theory was not just a static arrangement of circles. It was a dynamic system, constantly in flux, driven by the ambitions and interactions of its key players. At the center of this intricate dance of power was the Vijigishu, the ambitious king, always striving to expand his territory and influence. Surrounding him were his Ari, or enemies kings, who posed a direct threat to his ambitions. The relationship between the Vijigishu and his Ari was one of constant tension, often erupting into conflict. However, the Mandala theory recognized that even enemies could become allies if circumstances demanded it. Then there was the Madhyama, the neutral king, holding a position of considerable influence. The Madhyama, depending on his alliances, could tip the balance of power in favor of either the Vijigishu or the Ari. His neutrality was not passive. It was a calculated strategy to safeguard his interests and maximize his gains. Finally, there was the Udasina, the indifferent king, geographically distant or unconcerned with the power struggles at the center. While seemingly detached, the Udasina could still influence the dynamics of the mandala, often unwittingly, by providing refuge or resources to one of the other players. Section 6. Alliances and Autonomy. The Doctrine of Independence and Sovereignty. Within the framework of the Mandala theory, alliances were paramount. The doctrine of independence and sovereignty, while emphasizing the autonomy of each state, also recognized the need for strategic partnerships. No king, however powerful, could exist in isolation. Alliances were forged through marriage, treaties, and shared interests. These alliances were not merely political, they often had economic and cultural dimensions. The exchange of goods, ideas, and people flowed through these alliances, enriching the cultural landscape of ancient India. The Arthashastra dedicates considerable space to the art of diplomacy, outlining various strategies for forging and maintaining alliances. It stresses the importance of understanding the motivations of potential allies and rivals, advocating for a pragmatic approach that prioritized the national interest. This system of alliances and counter-alliances ensured that no single power could dominate the Indian subcontinent for too long. It created a dynamic equilibrium, fostering competition while also promoting cooperation when necessary. Section 7. Legacy of the Mandala, shaping ancient India's destiny. The Mandala theory, though a product of its time, offers valuable insights into the dynamics of international relations. Its emphasis on the fluidity of power, the importance of alliances, and the need for a pragmatic approach to diplomacy remain relevant even today. The theory's legacy is visible in the rich tapestry of ancient Indian history. The rise and fall of empires, the constant shifts in alliances, and the cultural exchange that characterized ancient India can be better understood through the lens of the Mandala theory. It reminds us that the pursuit of power is a constant in human history. However, it also highlights that lasting peace and stability are best achieved through diplomacy, strategic alliances, and a healthy respect for the sovereignty of all nations. The Mandal Theory stands as a testament to the political acumen of ancient Indian thinkers. It offers a timeless framework for understanding the complexities of interstate relations, reminding us that the dance of power is a delicate and ever-evolving ballet.